Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Friday, the first day of the month of December 2023, Friday of the 34th week of the year, the 34th week in Ordinary Time. We are coming now to the quick close of our liturgical year, the year of Matthew. Tomorrow evening, Saturday night, begins our new year, our new church year as a people of faith. Technically, with the setting of the sun, whatever hour that happens to be, and the beginning of evening prayer 1 or the beginning of Mass, we are launched into a new church year. There will not be great fanfare. There's generally no parties. There is no dropping of a ball. There's nothing like that. Ordinary Time basically just fades into the glorious season, the joyful season of Advent. On this kind of full final day of the year of Matthew of our church year for 22-23, we begin to finish with the readings from the book of Daniel. And again, very long first readings from Daniel. The playground, the Marianne Cope Playground, Sister Marianne Cope Playground, St. Marianne Cope Playground right behind me. Our preschool, their buildings rising behind me over there. Again, a very long first reading, a very short gospel. I guess that's probably why the church tries to balance this out in some ways. But what we have from Daniel today is this very strange, almost frightening, way too fantastic description of 4 great beasts that arise in a vision that Daniel is having. Again, as the visions continue during the night. So it's an entire evening of visions that Daniel is given about the end of the world, about the fulfillment of God's promises and God's plan for creation. This one about these great beasts. Again, Hollywood would have a heyday with trying to make this as frightening as possible in CGI all over the place with it. But one like a lion, there's a leopard, there's a bear, and then there's this beast that is terrifying with iron teeth and whatever it is. And each of these beasts rise and are given dominion. So it's something it seems like God does, with them. And the dominion is always to wreak havoc and chaos and to destroy. But then the vision continues with God being seated, again, the vision of an old man on a throne with a court assembled around him. And basically he tears each of these beasts apart, again, because Daniel can be very graphic. Remember, he was in a lion's den for a while. The sort of graphic description of God's power and eventual authority over everything. And then the vision of the Son of Man. Again, Christ, the Messiah, however, it can be interpreted. But this vision of one like the Son of Man who comes on the clouds, to whom dominion is given, that his kingdom will never pass away. It will be a kingdom of peace. It will be a kingdom of fulfillment, a kingdom in which everything finds its place. Again, we begin to close, again, the book of Daniel with these great visions of the end of time, which is why, again, this points, to this time of the year points again to how God will fulfill things. And again, it's not something to be feared. It's not something to run away from. It is not something to be panicked over. But it is something to watch for and to be able to embrace and to receive when it happens. That understanding of watching and receiving is part now of Matthew's gospel, where Jesus basically says, when the fig tree begins to sprout, that summer is near. Then he says, that when these things happen, you also know that the kingdom of God is at hand. Now, again, so this goes all over the place as to when will the fulfillment of God's promises, when will the second coming happen, when will the end of time happen? And it seems to be in spring, which for the ancient church was logical and understood, because again, things come back to life in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, we always have a problem with at this time of the year, you're moving into winter. As you move from spring to summer, in the northern hemisphere, you're moving from fall into winter. In the northern hemisphere, spring to summer, but in the southern hemisphere, fall to winter. And that always creates, a bit of consternation as to what's actually going on. And you have a northern hemispheric kind of monopoly on these kinds of visions because they were written in the northern hemisphere. But there is this sense in which trying to see the seasons and they're changing, how the world continues to move from summer and from spring into summer, from fall into winter, as being opportunities, as being perhaps occasions, as being those signs in which God's coming forth again is happening, is occurring. For the ancients in the Northern Hemisphere, again, for the ancient Romans, for the ancient Middle Easterners, Christians, this time of moving into spring, of spring moving into summer and its fruitfulness would be logical, which is why, again, the Easter Vigil is really a time for expecting the return of Christ, whether that be in the Northern Hemisphere from spring to summer, or in the Southern Hemisphere from fall into winter. It is still a very powerful time of change, of transformation of our cosmos, of the world around us. And in that change, that transformation, there is God at work, bringing to fulfillment God's promises within us and around us. A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.